Tonight, timelines and tech data under scrutiny as a digital forensics expert returns to the stand.
Are Lexus SUVs trigger happy?
I do not know, sir.
Did the prosecution repair the damage done to the witness's credibility after the defense exposed mistakes and misstatements in front of the jury?
Why didn't you finish your degree in 2024?
As most people can probably relate, work, family, and life many times get in the way.
Plus, several state troopers linked to this trial in court for another high-profile murder case. Our legal experts weigh in. Canton Confidential, the Karen Reed murder trial, starts right now.
Second day of scientific testimony, a forensic expert back on the stand just a day after getting grilled by the defense over his academic credentials. Good evening, everyone. I'm J.C. Monahan.
And I'm Glenn Jones. Today we learned why there was a discrepancy on his official resume. Let's get right out to our Melanie Mendez. She joins us live outside Norfolk Superior Court. Melanie, why is there so much attention on this particular witness's testimony?
Really, to put it simply, Glenn, it's because this timeline is so integral to the case. The whole case hinges on the timing of what happened on that night. Now, Shanon Burges, as we now know, he's a forensic data analyst, and he analyzed the data on Karen Reed's SUV on the night John O'Keefe died. Now, according to his updated numbers, it falls in line with the prosecution's narrative that the moment John O'Keefe's phone moved for the last time, Karen Reed's SUV backed up. But that is if the jury believes him.
Incredible or uncredible, I'm not sure what the word is.
Either way, credibility was the central focus of today's testimony by Shanon Burges. Karen Reed addressing that as she left court. The defense started their cross today by pointing out a glaring error in the centerpiece of Burgess' testimony, the date on the timeline.
If I misspoke and said the 29th, then yes, I misspoke on that, yes.
Alessi pressed him on why, weeks after the trial had begun, he issued a new report with different numbers, contrary to the timing filed in several other reports, some by colleagues within his own company.
I did not depart from my original report. I clarified.
You don't call that a change, sir?
No, sir, I do not.
Alessi alluding to something we've heard from the defense before, inconsistencies in witness statements and expert reports suggesting the prosecution's witnesses are using selective evidence to fit their narrative.
Isn't what you did and we just discussed a classic example of confirmation bias, which is to be avoided in science?
No, it is not.
Specifically asking why Burgess used the term collision in recent reports. Burgess saying it came from Massachusetts State Police crash reports.
None of the information in that black box that you referred to on your direct testimony indicates that there was a collision on January 29th, does it?
Not by itself.
Not by itself.
Correct.
Then more hammering of discrepancies in his CVs, noting that he does not have a bachelor's degree despite multiple resumes, like on LinkedIn, saying so. On redirect, Hank Brennan methodically going through the claims, trying to clean up some of the damage.
Have you ever represented in any court that you achieved your bachelor's degree?
No, I have not.
Alessi pulled up documents from a federal case out of Texas.
You stated again, sir, that you have not filed a document that misstates your educational background, correct?
Correct.
Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration. That degree does not exist. It is not offered at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, correct?
No, that is not.
So therefore, an incorrect statement about your educational background was filed in a federal court in Texas, correct?
Yes, it was.
But Brennan had the last word, trying to shift the focus back onto the data.
Does your opinion regarding the data change in any way in light of his questions about a 2023 filing that you didn't file and someone filed on your behalf?
Objection.
The objection is sustained. I'm going to strike that question.
So court will be back in session tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, by the way, will be the final full day of testimony this week. Glenn, JC, back to you.
Melody, thank you. Joining the conversation now is our chief legal analyst, Michael Coyne, and retired Massachusetts Judge Jack Liu. All right, a lot of Burgess on the stand today. Digital forensic expert. The defense tried to poke the holes in the timelines. We know that. All of that information was based on the information that came from Karen Reed's Lexus. And the question is this a credible witness? You may remember yesterday her legal team attacked Burgess's credibility, essentially grilling him about his education, forcing him to admit, as you heard, no, he does not have a bachelor's degree, despite his company's website saying he does. Today, as you heard, the Commonwealth tried to prove to the jury that this mistake takes nothing away from the work that he has done on this case.
You mentioned that you had over 700 hours.
Yes, I do.
Of classes and certification.
Yes.
Do you need a bachelor's degree to be competent and achieve in this area?
No, I do not.
Is a bachelor's degree a prerequisite of success in a particular field?
No, it is not.
You ever hear of Bill Gates?
Yes.
Stephen Jobs?
Yes.
Oprah Winfrey?
Sustained.
Okay, it's clear he's not Bill or Oprah. But the point being, of course, that can we believe in the work that he has done? When it comes especially to the science, you have to believe the person who is presenting the numbers. The question is, did Brennan do enough? Did the prosecution do enough to sort of clean up the perceived mess? I see you looking at each other.
If the judge would like to go first, he can.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, so polite.
All right, well, if you want me to.
Yes,
Mr. Brennan, all he's doing...
Did he do enough?
All he's doing is, according to standard prosecutorial theory, is closing doors. He does not need to nail the doors shut or hermetically seal them with plastic so no air gets through. He just needs to close the doors for, to be really clinical about it, the means of escape for Karen Reed. And what the defense should be worried about with that witness is nothing that happened fundamentally undermines the substance of what he's saying.
Well, that's the question, is why would he lie? Let's put aside the resume, put aside some of the mistakes he made, but why would he lie about something so fundamental as to that timeline? He made a mistake in the timeline as well by using the wrong date. But the key here is that science that he did talk about. Assuming that that is, in fact, what the jury decides to believe, is very, very damning evidence because it ties with some of the other science that's already in. And so did he do a good job on redirect? I thought he did a great job on redirect. The question is, will it be enough to convince the jury beyond a reasonable doubt? Because that's the real challenge.
You both kind of laid this out in your answers because defense attorney Robert Alessi had two clear missions here. He had to damage the credibility of the witness through his bio, through his CV, did that mostly yesterday. But he also had to poke holes in his scientific theory that he was putting forward because it's so germane to the Commonwealth's case. So I guess I want to ask you guys, which of those two did Alessi do more effectively? And to what extent does that matter to the jury?
Well, it's the resume, obviously. That's a big hole with respect to his LinkedIn profile and all of that, not finishing his college degree. But did the explanation that life gets in the way before you always can finish all your educational requirements, we're working with adult learners, I know that that's the case. So I think there will be people on the jury that message will resonate with is, well, I wish I had done this. I wish I had completed my education. That you might be able to close. The problem is there are still mistakes with respect to dates and things like that, even though the science otherwise is solid and backed up by other information already in evidence.
All right. Thank you to Michael and to Jack for giving your takes. Before we change topics, one more word from the witness on his credentials. The digital forensics expert gave an easy-to-understand reason for not having a bachelor's degree, as Michael just mentioned.
Why didn't you finish your degree in 2024?
Sure. So,
I'm going to allow it.
As most people can probably relate, work, family, and life many times get in the way. So as a personal objective, I would like to finish my bachelor's, but again, work and life gets in the way.
All right, we also want to draw your attention now to an interaction between Karen Reed and defense attorney Alan Jackson. Normally, Reed is fairly stoic in the courtroom, but you can see here she is listening very intently. She's whispering. She's even pointing to something on a notebook. All right, let's bring in our courtroom insider, Sue O'Connell, because, Sue, you're in there and you can watch all of this happen. We know she's heavily involved in her case. A moment like this, Does it play to the jury? Does the jury notice? And if it does, are you, our psychic over here, are you reading into any of that?
Yeah, so unlike the first trial, the jury doesn't see very much of Karen Reed sitting in the courtroom because she's been going up to the sidebar. So remember, last time they got to sit and just watch her all the time.
That's right.
And during the trial, there are so many lawyers there with big chairs that the view of Karen Reed from most of the jury seats, they can't see her. So in some regards, this is like the first time they're really just seeing her sitting there. Also, though, they can see the hubbub when things happen at the table. There's whispering. There's so many lawyers. There's notes being passed. I can actually see her screen a little bit from where I am. And she is working on things that are going to come up later in the trial that I can see. So she's actively involved in this. So what the jury thinks about this, I don't know, right? You know, they are often with their heads down taking notes. They're not observing the courtroom the way the last jurors did. They're not like gazing at people and looking at people. They are, when there's a break, either just taking a break and looking at the fan like the rest of us are, or they are taking notes. Some of them are reorganizing their notes. So I feel very much like I'm in a classroom. I said this yesterday, and Karen is just one of the students or one of the teachers, depending on how you look at it.
You know, Michael, Karen Reed is her own best advocate, and you can't hate on somebody for being that. But I wonder, when you look at this in comparison to other trials, particularly murder trials, do you see the same level of involvement from other defendants?
No, you do not. And I'm going to disagree with you, Glenn, that I'm not sure she's the best advocate for herself. Some distance from the incident, and some less emotion from the acts themselves, that generally helps, right? The old saying that the person who represents themselves has a fool for a client. She's got 3, 4 terrific lawyers. I would let them drive the bus, and she should be listening to the advice from them to me to a much greater extent, because they have the experience and the qualifications to be able to get her not guilty verdict.
I will say she's the one that discovered the inverted video, though, last trial when it got played in the courtroom. So there are things that she is seeing that they don't know about that she recognizes.
Okay. Michael,
We'll
Sue, thank you so much.
How it ends up, right?
Don't go anywhere. We want to get some more from you. We'll have Judge Liu back after the break as well. Up next, another high-profile case in Norfolk County involving the same group of state police investigators as the Reed trial. Coming up, the law enforcement officers recently appearing at a hearing for yet another murder trial, facing a lot of scrutiny.
And the most important thing to remember is John O'Keefe, the victim in this case. Braintree native, he was a Boston police officer. He became the legal guardian of his niece and nephew after the children lost both of their parents to illness. You're watching Canton Confidential, the Karen Reed murder trial.
Don't miss any of the Karen Reed murder trial. Get the full recap of what happened in court, expert analysis, and what we could see next. This is coverage you won't see anywhere else. Canton Confidential, weeknights at 7 on NBC 10 Boston.
We're back now with retired Massachusetts Judge Jack Liu and our chief legal analyst Michael Coyne, Dean of the Massachusetts School of Law. We can't get enough of either of them. All right, I want to get your take, gentlemen, on two different people's testimonies in this case and what the Commonwealth is asking the jury to believe. In the case of Michael Proctor, he was the lead investigator. His conduct was unbecoming, but they're saying the quality of the investigation is just fine. We need you to believe that. In the case of Shanon Burges, a much different witness, they're saying the quality of his work is very good, but we know he's got some credibility issues. Are they really stretching the imaginations of the jury, or are these things you ask of juries all the time?
All witnesses come with some baggage. And that's the question. In this case, they come with a lot of baggage.
Yeah, a lot of luggage.
And that's the burden the government has here, to try and convince the jury beyond a reasonable doubt. Because if jurors have started to think about that she's guilty or not guilty, there is ample support already for both verdicts that they could come to.
Can the Commonwealth overcome this baggage, Judge?
Oh, absolutely. If I were Karen Reed, I would be worried sick, and I'm sure she is. Let's face it. They can overcome this. Proctor, who I've said was fired for something everyone else was suspended for, he just use your ESP. He'll come in and say, I apologize for my errors, but the integrity of the investigation is completely unchallenged and rock solid, proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Well, let's see how this plays in other trials, because we're hoping both of you can weigh in on this possible impact on another high-profile trial that is happening here in Massachusetts. It's the disappearance of Anna Walsh. Just a bit of background, the Cohasset mother of 3 has not been heard from since early January 2023. Her husband, Brian, is accused of killing and dismembering her. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges against him. We're talking about this because former state police trooper Michael Proctor was the lead investigator in this case, as in the Reed case, as you just mentioned. Several other state police investigators were in court yesterday to talk about their involvement in the Walsh murder investigation. Take a look. These are all officers who took the stand in the Reed trial. So, knowing that the police investigation is under a microscope for the Reed trial, and we have another what will be another high-profile trial. How does it, or does it, impact that next trial?
I think it impacts potential jurors, because I'm going to disagree with the judge. It wasn't handled professionally. Many of the results, many parts of the investigation may be solid, but so much of what they did was unprofessional. The preservation and collection of the evidence, the witnesses questioning and the like. I think there's a carryover to this case that potential jurors already have some knowledge of.
Can they bring that up, though? When they're on the stand for the Brian Walsh, can the defense?
The short answer is not directly.
Okay.
Not directly.
The door has to be opened.
And that would be unusual.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this might be more public perception than anything else.
Well, it's there. It's part of the foundation that these jurors potentially come with, is saying there's some level of distrust of the Norfolk County state troopers who were involved in these murder investigations, and all the defense then has to do is build on that. So it is problematic for that case as well. Plus, remember, you don't have a body, and that's usually the easiest part of proving a murder took place, is you have the body.
All right, let's get to some viewer questions now about the retrial of Karen Reed. And we want to think ahead for a moment. Jennifer from Long Island in New York wants to know, this case screams reasonable doubt. Do you think the defense could motion the judge for a directed verdict? Or do you think they want the not guilty to end it once and for all? Maybe we'll start with you on that one, Jack. And maybe also put into context what a directed verdict is.
Yeah, that reveals a slight misunderstanding of what's going on. But they will, I guarantee you, the defense will give a full-throated motion for a required finding of not guilty. I will take a seat before they start. And so that will be done.
After the Commonwealth wraps up its case.
Yes, and after they finish their case. And apparently they have a case, which is unusual.
Oh, they have to wait. They couldn't do it just after the prosecution's case?
No, they can. They can do it.
But you think they'll wait till after the defense?
I think they'll do both. I know they'll do both.
Okay.
These are high-level lawyers. Mr. Yannetti and company, they're not missing anything. That's how they picked up on all the resume business with the opinion witness. But
okay, let's get to another viewer question, because this one comes from Connor, and he says, in the event Karen Reed is found not guilty, what happens to the Lexus? In their investigation, we know the state police has dismantled the interior components. They've removed integral components. This may seem trivial, but if she walks out of that court a free woman, what does happen with evidence that you take? It doesn't just have to be a car. People take your computers and they take apart all sorts of things, and then what happens?
You get it back.
You get it back what, in pieces?
Yes. There's no requirement that they restore it to the condition they had it in. Same thing with search warrants as well, if you think about it. Sometimes the police are going to go through a house with a fine-tooth comb. You're the one that's going to put it back together.
It's junk now, though. That truck is junk.
Well, they've taken it all.
It destroys the car.
Yeah, they've taken it all apart.
We've got to get to one more question from a viewer. It comes from Jen in Duxbury. She wants to know, if Karen Reed is acquitted, will there be consequences for having drunk 9 drinks and then driving? What are your thoughts on that?
Civil, potentially. And we know there are civil suits already pending. And so that suit would have been impacted with a guilty verdict. It would have made the civil suit easier. But it doesn't mean that the civil suit doesn't still have significant viability. O.J. was found civilly liable and not guilty in the criminal case.
Wow. So she's not done, no matter what the verdict is when she walks out.
Far from it.
far.
Wow. You know what this case shows or raises is the apparent immunity that some Boston police, some Canton police, and some, let's face it, other police have from arrest for operating under the influence of liquor, including those police and their very close friends and family. And it's wrong and it's corrupt. And I think people should know just because the police are corrupt, the rest of the system is absolutely not corrupt. And
their blood alcohol was not taken, by the way, the other people who were there drinking in the bars and such. So nothing could come, I assume, of that.
Well, nothing again, but there are potential civil suits that could form on the periphery of the initial case against the bars themselves, as well as Miss Reed. And so there may be others brought in at some point that contributed to this as well.
All right.
Michael?
I think you know, Judge, there's a lot of speculation out there around the sanctity of our judicial system in that county in particular. So it's a conversation we'll have to continue in the future.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Judge, Michael, thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us as always. If you have questions, you see it, we answer them right here. The email is on your screen, canton.confidential@nbcuni.com. We'll answer as many questions as we can every day.
And remember to join us every weeknight at 7 on NBC 10 Boston. We'll have a full recap of the latest developments from court as well as legal analysis. Plus, this week's episodes will be streaming on Peacock starting on Sunday, but you can watch any past episode on Peacock right now. This is Canton Confidential, the Karen Reed murder trial.
Watch LaToya Edwards and Raul Martinez weekdays at 6 a.m. on NBC 10 Boston.